It's funny how they have another Doom Patrol actor in this two-parter. The dude that is in Doom Patrol as more of a side character appears here. And they have a Richard Nixon two-parter episode where they talk about how Richard Nixon was a racist and homophobic. And they also tie in all the complicated time doctor stuff with River. I've never been a huge fan of that. I think River's a pretty cool character, but I it's just, too much for me personally. Like I don't think this is a bad season, but it's a season that I personally wouldn't watch again cuz I just love the more simpler episodes of Doctor Who. Like yeah, they can be complicated, but not this complicated. It's just all kinds of weird stuff, and I can see it turning off new fans with a lot of the stuff that happens in this season. We also get the guy that plays Myrn in Suicide Squad, and he also plays the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but it's just a small role. He doesn't really do that much, but it was cool seeing him here. So, the doctor gets killed, but not really because of time and stuff, so it's not actually happened yet. It's kind of confusing. Not the most confusing thing that's happened to Doctor Who though. Now, even though I really liked the third episode, it reminded me a lot of a previous episode with the Ninth Doctor, the gas mask episode, where the thing didn't know how to properly heal people, so it started putting gas mask on them because the first person it healed had a gas mask when they died. Um, but it is slightly different, I guess. It's a pirate siren thing, which I did not expect to see in Doctor Who, but it worked. And people get a black spot and then they get taken away by the siren, but in reality, she's just trying to heal these people. Kind of weird. Fun episode, though. The fourth episode of the series, the Doctor gets mail, which he hasn't gotten in a long time, and it's a distress signal from a Time Lord, which turns out not really. It was a distress signal from a Time Lord who was already dead. And they go to this basically living planet, and the TARDIS is human now. So it's a pretty fun dynamic. Pretty decent episode, pretty scary concept with the Rory and Amy stuff on the ship. And the scene where Matt Smith says, "Fear me, I've killed them all," when the creature tries to, threaten him with the fact that he's killed hundreds of Time Lords, is a pretty cool line, but honestly, kind of a mediocre episode in my opinion. Then 5 and 6 is another two-parter, which I had actually seen the first part before, but I hadn't seen the second one before. And I had watched it a long time ago. It was probably one of my first episodes of Doctor Who. Pretty good episode. We get these scene where this guy just dies and they're just fine with it, it turns out, because in this world they have this like vat or whatever that makes more of them, and they don't really see that as human. That it's just like this clone that's just doing its job and meant to die. But eventually they get emotions and they start to rebel. Um, they try and make you hate them, but also feel bad for them. Amy is extremely rude in this episode. Did not like her, the way she was handling stuff. Um, Eventually, the thing, or kind of message of the episode is that they are living creatures too. So he lets them go free. One of them takes over a life because he technically did live that life, even though it's just memories. And he gets to go with the real ones family because he's dead, so now he has to go take care of the kid. So even though they talk about how these creatures are just as real as the original ones, the episode ends with the doctor purposely killing the Amy clone, using the Sonic to kill her, instead of just letting her live her life. Don't really get how that works. Pretty fucking stupid ending, in my opinion. But I really liked the episodes. The next episode is all confusing stuff. We find out that River is Amy and Rory's kid. Kind of fun episode. We get a character back that I think we saw back in David Tennant's era, just for him to get his head chopped off. But he does reappear again as just a head, which was kind of cool. Pretty fun episode, but honestly not much to talk about. It's just a lot of setting up more plot points and explaining stuff that has already happened, but we didn't know the full extent of it. Let's Kill Hitler has nothing to do with Hitler. So that's kind of weird. The episode starts with this girl kind of holding the doctor hostage and pointing a gun at him, and he says, "Let's kill Hitler," and then they go there and they lock him in the cupboard, and the rest of the episode has nothing to do with Hitler. I don't know why they did that. The episode was still pretty good, though. I don't get it. We get an episode called Night Terrors, which has these people just disappearing, and it turns out the child is the one doing it, which honestly I kind of expected from the beginning of the episode. It just felt kind of off, like the kid had to be a part of it. Pretty fun episode, pretty creepy visuals. It lands on damn near horror for definitely Doctor Who. Like, Doctor Who can be scarier and use horror elements, but man, this episode really felt like a horror episode. It wasn't like I was watching Doctor Who. Really good episode. Amy gets fucking turned into a doll at one point, and the energy is just crazy. The next episode, Amy gets trapped somewhere, but it's not as long for the doctor. It's like a few minutes, but for her, it's years. And she ends up becoming really old. But you know, since it was like a weird time stream thing or whatever, she actually doesn't become old because there's still like a younger version, so they end up meeting. And the doctor lies, saying he can save both of them, but he ends up locking the older Amy out. And Rory has to choose which one he wants to save, and he ends up choosing the younger one. Pretty heartbreaking episode. The God Complex is really, really good. They show characters we haven't seen in a while, though they don't exactly point them out. They're on the wall, like we see the cat lady from David Tennant's era, and we see the Fly that we also saw in David Tennant's era, who was in one of the specials and was one of the rare times that wasn't an antagonist, was actually a good guy. So this is a hotel that feeds on, seemingly it seems like it's fear, but it ends up being faith in people. That's why Amy and the doctor and Rory got trapped there in the first place, was because of Amy's faith in the doctor. It feeds on any faith, not just religion. It's a really good episode, and probably one of my favorite of the series. I had actually seen this one before. Really good episode. So the series ends with a two-parter, and it's one of the more confusing ones again. which is just really hard to describe when talking about it. So I'm just gonna have to skip it. I'll explain a little bit of it. The River is destined to kill the Doctor. She refuses. They end up being able to find a loophole by creating kinda of a clone that gets killed. So I guess the Doctor is allowed to live now because technically he died, even though it wasn't even the Doctor. It was like this weird thing we had saw in the Let's Kill Hitler episode. Then we get a Christmas special that's a homage to Narnia. We get a reference to the Knife Doctor, where Matt Smith mentions how a tree creature fancied him, which we saw in the second episode of the Knife Doctor's era, which is just honestly one of my favorite episodes. We also get probably one of my favorite lines from a character that does not return. Like in the Knife Doctor's era, in the gas mask episode, there's this doctor that has this pretty funny line where this girl's like, "Oh, when I came in, I had lost a leg or something. I only had one leg." And the doctor guy replies with, "You've been in a coma. Maybe you miscounted." Well, in this episode, this guy says, "There is nothing you can say to make me fear you." And she says, "I'm a mother looking for her children." It's such a good line. The whole episode kind of falls on the fact of a little bit of a sillier complex, in my opinion. And that is the fact that the Doctor vows to help this person whenever she needs it because he had helped her. But it's a Christmas special. It's meant to be heartwarming, so I don't exactly blame it for that, and it doesn't tone down the episode in any way. It's still a really good episode. But they'd spend the whole episode acting like the husband's dead, but it turns out he's actually alive. Pretty fun episode. And that is it for season 6.